All right. Katie says, I've heard people recommend using your own name in your counseling business name for the first few years to get name recognition. What are your thoughts on that versus another name? I'm actually, if you know that you just want to do counseling yourself and you don't want to ever have a group practice, like that is, you will never do it. And you are certain on that. Then I'd say just do it as your name if that's what you want. But there's a lot of reasons why you should have it be a name that's not just you. If you ever want to move away from being in the chair as much, it's a lot harder. People want to see you. They want to see the person whose name is on the sign. They may pay more for that, but it's a lot harder to pivot out of that role. Also, if you figure you can spend 3 years building up your name as your name, or you can spend 3 years building up the practice name. When people know that it's mental wellness counseling run by Joe Sanok, it's a lot easier to then build that brand. And so I'd say if any part of you thinks that you might even consider group practice, name it something that is beyond your name. You can always change it later. So the official name of mental wellness counseling is Sanok Counseling PLLC, but then we filed a doing business as a DBA as mental wellness counseling later on. And that's just because I couldn't come up with a creative name at the beginning. It took me a while to land on mental wellness counseling. When you're brainstorming a name, I'd highly recommend getting some Post-it notes and just think about all the outcomes of counseling, what it's like to go through counseling with you. Are you direct? Are you kind of soft? Are you peaceful? Are you like science-based and outcomes-based? Just brainstorm all those things, put them up on the wall. Do you call yourself a therapist, a counselor, a psychologist? What are those words that you associate? And just start to play with those different Post-it notes. And then when you do that, you can get an idea of, oh, this could sound good. So there's kind of the outcome of therapy connected to your ideal client as a way to name your practice. And then there's a totally different way. So there's this guy, Cortland, who he was in one of my mastermind groups, and he had Little Red Telescope counseling. And he had this story all about his little red telescope when he was a kid and how he had this sense of wonder and awe when he looked through it. And he still has that within his counseling practice. And he likes to help clients find that. And so for him, I mean, like that's something that sticks in your head, Little Red Telescope. And it's like, oh yeah, definitely. So having something like that, it stands out too. So you don't have to stick with kind of the typical, and from a branding perspective, you're really going to stand out in a competitive market.